Well, hello, shiftHER community. I'm here. Gotta take my subs first. Hello. Sorry, I have to take my supplements. Welcome to the shiftHER Live. Today we are having on Ethel Richards. Let me move that back a bit. Okay. Oh, look who's on already. I see you. I'm ready to go.
Hi.
There she is. There she is. Hello, Ethel.
Hey. I hope I got my lighting good,
Your lighting,
Is
you
that
are
right?
sparkling, my
Oh,
love. Thank you so much.
okay. Yay.
You are sparkling. Let's wait for a few more folks. Hey, Sharon. Mm. Welcome to the shiftHER Live, everybody. So excited. How was your day today, Ethel? You have a good day?
I did. I had a good day and a lot of productive conversations today
What?
around food as medicine.
What? How can we not? How can we not? We'll just wait for a few more folk um um to come in. Oh, is that Valerie? Is that Valerie? Yes. Um, yeah, well, how can you not have productive conversations around that? That's all I'm going to ask. I
Yeah.
mean, right? I think this is where we all are. We need to be. And, if you don't know, like I say, get somebody qualified to talk to about it. That's
That
it.
part. That
Yeah.
part.
Guys, thank you so much for coming. We're just going to, okay. You know what? I'm not going to wait. I'm glad everyone is here for our guest on the shiftHER Live. I'm super excited. Ethel Richards. And again, quick story. We met by happenstance, right? At the Lola, which seems to be the conduit here with all the things, at least for me. And Valerie Rawls, who is a juggernaut, with whom I have a tremendous amount of respect for, introduced me to you. And I'm so glad, because I told you, you complete my circle that I need for shiftHER. And that piece is somebody who is so dialed in and educated in the world of nutrition in general, right?
Mhm.
Which you are very well educated about. You're going to tell us all, because as I said, we're going to highlight this, because I promise people that what we bring on shiftHER is we bring experts, right? And those experts are qualified and educated academically and from an experience perspective and from a practicing perspective, right? So Ethel, why don't you tell everybody your background so that we're all clear and we're all on the same page here.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited. And I just love these spaces. So thanks again for having me. So I'm Ethel Richards. I'm a food as medicine nutritionist and I am a health coach. Very big words. People are like, well, what exactly is that? Basically, I just come alongside you to help you make lifestyle changes that is really tailored to you. It's a customized plan that we come up with together that reflects the goals that we decide and we talk about. So that's what I can do for you as a health coach. And what makes me qualified to do this, I have a Master of Science in nutrition, but not just any kind of nutrition, natural medicine. So I'm naturopathically trained to do clinical community nutrition. And I have a host of other master's degrees, but we here to talk about food as medicine. So we're gonna just lean into that
Yep,
tonight.
yep. But they all connect, right? I just,
Hmm.
again, having a master's in public health is huge,
Hmm.
right? It gives you a very big understanding of how the community at large, which would mean out, I'm talking about globally, how we're impacted from a health perspective, right? How the community is impacted. I think that's key,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, master in public health, I focused in healthcare administration as well as general public health. And then I decided from there how important it was to really understand the business behind it. So I got an MBA because at some point I wanted to go into business. And I studied entrepreneurship and international business, which I think they reframed to something else, not like global business. But I wanted to learn how to do it. And I went to one of the best institutions to get my MBA. And then from there, I just kept seeing gaps. I think that's the beauty of public health. I kept seeing gaps in all these programs. And I'm like, why do we do a program for X number of years or a few months and it just disappears? And
Right.
why is it so hard to navigate these programs? So business degree, then I was like, it would be great to understand a little bit more. Let me do a project management certification because I think it's overcomplicated. So I did. I went and got my PMP, and then I was like, okay, there's one more gap. There's the people side of change, and so I went and got my pro side certification because I was like, that's the magic right there. So not only do I understand community and population health, but now I can bring it down to a personal level. So that's what makes me so unique as a food as medicine nutritionist and health coach is it's so personalized. We take the tenets of all of these things and narrow it down to you in your life and what will help you thrive with whatever goals you have in mind, whether it's lose weight, whether it's kick diabetes in the butt, whether it's get rid of hypertension, whether it's reverse high cholesterol, to the degree that you can, depending on where you are in your journey with that. But I realize it's not hard. You just need that coach. You need that person to come alongside you and empower you and let you know that you can do it because you can, and find practical strategies that work for the life that you have and that you want to
I love this,
lead.
right? I think sometimes we as humans, we complicate things, right? We make things so complicated. And again, before I even got in this realm, I, when I really decided to change my eating and how I look at nutrition, um, I didn't realize that all the other metabolic markers would be impacted. I was just concerned about I need to get weight off at the time,
Yeah.
right? So I
Yeah.
was like, oh wow, when I went to the before I got to this point, my doctor said you're pre-diabetic. This was about 7-8 years ago, and I was like, what? No, I just knew that I could not like have that. But when I changed my eating, I didn't realize that everything would change, right? I mean, blood glucose levels, cholesterol, blood pressure just tanked in a good way, right? So I think that sometimes we complicate it when it's just tweaking things. So having somebody like you is A1. I definitely think definitely A1. So I want to start off with the basics. So I'm describing you, right, as a plant-based nutritionist, which really isn't accurate, but you have a platform which is called I Eat More Plants, right?
I do.
So with that, I want to. I did a little research, right? And Google describes plant-based. It says that plant-based eating is a way of eating that focuses on consuming more foods from plants, such as fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, oils, whole grains, legumes, and beans. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a vegan or a vegetarian.
That
Now,
is correct.
that was a
Sure.
little aha for me,
Hmm.
right?
I,
Um,
I disagree with one part of that though.
okay.
Oils. Um,
Well,
and
well.
I disagree. I don't like the phrase plant based either. And I'm just going to tell you
So
why. I think what's about to happen is that phrase is about to be adulterated. And I already see it in food labels where, oh, it's plant based because there's pea protein in it.
of
Oh, it's
course,
plant based because there's coconut extract in it. But it's high in saturated fat, it's high in salt, it's high in sugar. So we're going to ignore all of that and we're going to put these labels on this stuff that says plant based, all natural, come get it. And we're like, yes, I want to take my health back. I'm going to go eat this because it says on the
correct.
package plant based. But I like to say whole plant foods, not a base,
That's Very
This is
specific.
this is the foundation of it. And you're right. It's everything you said. It's the vegetables. It's the legumes. It's the nuts. It's the seeds. It's the fruit. It's the herbs. It's the spices. I I shy away from oil because it's a vasoconstrictor. What that really means is when we consume oil, it does like this to our arteries. So think about how you feel after a high fat meal. You pretty much want to go to sleep. That afternoon lull, and they want to have conferences at 2 o'clock, and you're like, oh my god, I'm so tired. It's because you're tightening up where oxygen should be freely flowing. But if you eat lots of plants, it actually dilates your arteries, and so you can go woosah after you eat and feel like you can take on the world, as
Right.
opposed to needing a nap. So that's my only contender with the oil. But I think Google did a good job, But I'm just so afraid of the phrase plant based, and even food as medicine. I'm trying to get ahead of it because I think we're getting ready to slap a label on stuff and say, hey, this is food as medicine, but it's really whole plant foods. It's what God originally intended.
Well, you're trying to get ahead of it,
Sorry.
because it's
Yeah.
happening. It's not like we have to guess, right? It's happening. So I completely understand that. That makes complete sense to me. But the reason why I was kind of shocked when I saw that, I think a lot of people think that plant-based, if we're using that term, right, means that you're vegan, you're not you're only eating plants, etc. So I just wanted to you kind of cleared that up, right? You're saying
Yeah. And thank you, because I just jumped into the oils part. So it doesn't mean that you are vegan, which by the way is a lifestyle that has way more to do than not eating animals. You're talking honey, you're talking the clothes you wear. It's a whole different, it's a lifestyle.
that's yep.
People who are, I'll say it this way, plant forward or plant empowered or focusing on eating more whole plant foods as the foundation doesn't mean they don't enjoy certain foods as a condiment or a garnish or on holidays. So you could certainly be whole. Like for example, this Thanksgiving, I had salmon. I had probably 2 ounces of salmon with my dinner. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean I'm not a whole plant food eater.
Right, right,
I
right.
had salmon, and it's okay. It just depends on, we're getting into how much, the type of food you're eating, where it came from, the source, all of that plays a role into it. But you are right. Just because you say plant-based does not necessarily mean you are vegan or vegetarian.
Okay.
It just means that your priority is you're optimizing your plate is full of plants, beans, brown rice, legumes, vegetables, more than animal options.
Okay. So with that, um, we talk a lot about midlife, right? Perimenopause, menopause, because again, when you have thousands of women entering perimenopause, 6,000 women a day entering perimenopause or menopause, I mean, you're talking about a whole hormonal shift. You're talking about things moving in a different direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for a woman that is experiencing these hormonal shifts, um, if you're going to make a decision to be plant based, which is weird, it just feels weird to say it now that you said that, because I'm like, well, like today, I said after the gym, I said I need to eat, right? I was starving. So I came home. I already made turkey patties, that ground turkey patties are already there, but I'm like, all right, I'm having Ethel on, so I need to make sure that I'm doing the do here, right? And I need to slap a lot of green stuff on this plate, right? And so what, it just feels weird. Shouldn't we be, didn't our moms tell us to eat our vegetables? Like pile in the vegetables. So it feels weird and silly almost now that you said that, right? Like, I don't know. Like, it just feels weird because I'm still going to eat my protein. I still need to get my protein goals in, because for me, after doing every single test in the world, right? There's certain animal proteins I can't eat, and some I should not be, right? For Stacy,
Yeah.
right? But I also need to have those plants on the plate, right? Like,
Yeah,
so,
and plants, you can get adequate protein from plants. In fact, there are lots of plant items that have more protein than an animal
but is
item could offer.
it different? It's kind of different though. Isn't it different? Come
Well,
on,
an amino
Ethel.
acid is an amino acid. But it's it's all in how the body breaks it down.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I'll say. I know we're shifting into the midlife part, but animal protein is, well, first of all, after a workout, yes, you need to replenish, so that's important. Animal protein is just harder on the kidneys to break down, and it's easier for the body to break down plant protein than it is animal protein. So everybody is completely different. There are some studies out there where the answer was, oh my God, we need to give this person animal proteins so they can live. But it was a very rare case of a situation that this lady had. It's so personal. And it just really depends. So I think it's important to say I am not on a never eat animal protein campaign. My company is I Eat More Plants for a
Right.
reason, because plants help you optimize your health. And so, yeah, after a workout, I come in, I may have a handful of leafy greens, berries, some nuts, just enough to get me through whatever it is I'm going to choose to eat. But it gives me energy. Like, the leafy greens give me energy. The colorful things on my plate give me energy. And it makes me want to conquer the next task. So, but I think it's okay. Like, just come in and eat. It's all right. Don't feel weird. But there should be like some sort of fruit or vegetable every time you're eating, even if it's blueberries. Like, it does, if you don't have any leafy greens, blueberries or apples, bananas are really good after a workout too.
Yeah. So I have so many things that are going through my head right now, right? But I think the bottom line is that um, what we do know is plants add value. Period. Full stop. Like when nobody's
They have
no
life.
one
They
correct,
do. Yeah.
right? So let's put that to bed, right? But for the perimenopausal or menopausal woman, um, what does it mean to be plant dominant, right? Where you are really, or even let's just say, because you're a nutritionist and we can ask you these questions, right? What if you are vegan or vegetarian, right? Somebody that, and like you said, vegan is a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother
But I get it. It's
ecosystem.
fine. We'll go with it tonight.
Mhm.
But I guess it's almost as if you're asking me, and push back. It's almost as if you're asking me, can you walk through the journey of perimenopause, the moment of menopause, and then be postmenopausal, eating just whole plant foods without any animal protein? Is that the direction?
No,
No.
because I don't think that's is it really that intelligent of a question, right? Like, I mean, people choose to do what they're going to do, right? But I guess what I'm saying, are we missing anything? Is somebody missing something if they are excluding one of the groups, right? If I'm saying I'm going to be carnivore, right? Because there are plenty of people that subscribe to it and are very successful at it and all the things, doesn't mean they don't necessarily eat vegetables, but they're in the reverse,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, or someone who says I want to eat majority plants or no animal protein. I just don't want to do that. I want to be a vegetarian. Do you think going to one extreme or the other is a good idea?
Well, let me just say this.
Mm.
So I'll say it this way. In theory, going through perimenopause into menopause and postmenopausal should be easy. You shouldn't even really have any issues. And
Mm.
the average healthy person that is eating a primarily plant dominant diet, and they have no stress in their life. But when there is disharmony, if you will, in the body, our hormones are out of balance because animal protein comes with steroids and probably some shedding, if you want to say it that way, from the female and animals. Then it's gonna come with hot flashes. It's gonna come with some irritability. What are some of the other symptoms?
There's 100 of them.
Depression, insomnia, like all that stuff. And it's because our estrogen levels are going down.
Right.
So I guess the beauty of this is, if a person is predominantly eating plants throughout their life, one, there's a theory that you can delay menopause 10 to 20 years, by the way. And then two, you actually you're actually eating phytoestrogens.
Yep.
So these phytoestrogens Okay, let me give you just a little bit of physiology here.
Yep.
So we have kidneys, and our kidneys have these things called adrenal glands.
Yep.
These little glands, that's where they live. It's like we'll talk about stress in a little later, but basically they need time to learn how to walk when it comes to making estrogen. And so if you eat more whole plant foods that have these phytoestrogens, it can actually help minimize the symptoms, but also help your adrenal glands kind of get up to speed with making up for the difference of estrogen that we're going to be not having, because we don't have these big swings because we don't have our menses anymore. So
Right.
I think it would be a bonus for a person who is plant dominant to walk through this journey, because they should have more internal support within their body as a result of that, because they have the benefit of the phytoestrogens. Does that
Right. And to me,
help?
that it makes no,
Okay.
yeah, it makes perfect sense to me because of the phytoestrogens, right? Like that makes sense to me. And again, I keep on hearing in my head, she's not saying don't eat the animal protein. What she's saying is if you're dominant over here, this is what I'm hearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also food quality matters as far as I'm
That
concerned.
was, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna wait till she stopped. But so it's excessive consumption of animal protein, but also poor quality, like excessive commercial consumption and poor quality. So when our grandmamas and them
Right.
said, know your butcher,
Right.
there's a reason for that. If you look at food history and what they were originally doing in these butcher shops around ground beef and things like that. So that's where that came from. You better know your butcher,
That's
baby.
right.
So even now, like I do a lot of reconnaissance with farmers, especially Black farmers, because I want to be able to offer people who don't want to eat a predominantly plant diet still enjoy the healthiest lamb
Right.
and cow and pig and whatever it is. So I get to know them and I figure out, okay, when will you have product? This is a person who's interested in buying it. So I'm not it you have to balance it out, and it's what works for you, because not every some people just can't eat all plants. Their physiology is so different. They
And it's
might need that support, especially if they're going through it and sister flow is still coming irregularly. They may want to have salmon once a month or whatever that looks like. So I do think there is. So let me talk about what the things that plant does. It's very calming. I meant to have some in front of me, but I left it in the kitchen. But if you look at a collard or a kale or a cabbage or anything, whether it's purple or green, they all have something in common. That spine that goes down the middle. And
mm-hmm.
then they have these little white things that remind you of your nerves
Mm-hmm.
coming off. God was so intentional when he did that.
Yes.
Those are naturally calming, like a sedative, almost,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. They naturally relax you.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're going to help you move some things throughout your system. But that's the other benefit of this. So we're talking about hot flashes and irritability and forgetting stuff and whatever it is. These plants are not only going to help with that, they're also giving us phytoestrogens and a host of other things to help us through this season.
And guys, and so all the things that Ethel's talking about, not only does she talk about it on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the things, right? We can go back to Dr. Christine Woha, who's talking about food as medicine. We can go back to Dr. Jessica Shepard with her book Generation M, where she's saying food is medicine. So we have a consistent theme here, right? That nobody's saying that pharmacological options are not necessary, because sometimes they are necessary, right? I'm a prime example of that, and I subscribe to it. But what I do understand is that food is medicine as well, right? And first and foremost, we need to start with nutrition and look at the nutrition. And I hope I got that right, Ethel, what I'm saying here.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you for saying that too, because Western medicine has its place,
Mm,
just like supplements have their place,
correct.
right? But we still need our food. And I actually wrote down a list of foods that can help us through perimenopause.
And
Is
and
that
well, hello, yes, we want it because again, you need as many tools in your arsenal as possible, right? So, and I just want to be clear here that, and we've talked about it with every single practitioner that's come on here. Menopause is going to happen to you, to 100% of women, full stop, right? So you're not exempt. I don't care what you eat. It's going to happen. It is natural. You're losing estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. That's happening, right? But how you experience it is what the variable is. Just by the sheer loss of estrogen, there's going to be some ebbs and flows in what's happening, right? Because your body's saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it so depends on it, right?
100%.
So it's interesting, right? Your body depends on estrogen, right? So when it's leaving us, it's saying what's happening here, right? What
Yeah.
Ethel is saying, that guess what? You can mitigate some of this, right? And honestly, in some cases, delay, depending on who you are. If you're doing the right thing across the board, no alcohol, okay? No alcohol, no extra,
Smoking,
whatever, all the
all
things,
that.
all the
Yeah.
things, right? So yes, Ethel, tell us what foods are going to help us through peri and menopause.
Yeah. And so, all right, guys, when I say this, don't go crazy and go off the deep end. But there's some foods in there, and there's a reason because there's certain vitamins and minerals in these foods. And when I say don't go off the deep end, don't go buying a whole bunch of supplements. Let's personalize it. Let's talk about it first. But and these must be organic soybeans. The
Okay.
reason they must be organic because in this country we genetically modify them, so they
Everything.
must be organic. Soy foods in general must be organic if you're going to do soy. All right, my favorite, flax seeds, nuts, so any kind of nuts, whole grains, apples.
What are whole grains?
Oh,
Let's be clear. What's whole
yeah, thank
grains?
you. So we're talking rice, brown rice. We're
Forbidden
talking,
rice, the forbidden rice, like black rice.
yeah, we're talking. Oh, I
That's
didn't know my effects were on.
all
Let me
right.
turn them off. Um, okay, you said rice. Barley, millet is a grain.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can get. My secret is I go to the Indian market here in Atlanta and get it in bulk, organic bulk, and it saves so much money than trying to buy it from a Whole Foods or another local market because it's just the markup is
It is
crazy.
crazy.
So I've gotten hip and I just go to the specialty markets and get stuff in bulk and I store it in glass containers and I have what I need. Okay, let me get back. Apples, fennel, celery, parsley, and alfalfa, right? But these are the game changer veggies. Y'all ready for this? Write this
Game
down. Come back to
changer veggies,
rewind. These are the
y'all.
game changer perimenopausal and postmenopausal veggies. They're cruciferous. So what we're talking about is the cabbage family. Yo, cabbage is
That's
like
my
the
baby. Cabbage is my
miracle worker. You
boo.
can make cabbage smoothies with water. Cabbage smoothies, you can blend it up. But okay, so cabbage, we're talking broccoli, broccoli
Broccoli.
sprouts, because in the broccoli sprouts, you're going to get that sulforaphane, which is a powerhouse. Brussels sprouts, so little baby cabbage. And then, of course, cabbage, both green and red. Kale, collard greens, mustard greens, and turnip greens. And there's lots of varieties of kales you can get, like, and there's lots of varieties of
I know.
collards, like Swiss chard. Yeah.
I know.
And then turnips and things like that. Those are the game changers. And they're game changers because they are high in things like vitamin E, some of the B complexes, the calcium, those things that we need. But here's the other thing. I got to give you another kicker. All of these foods I just named, they are actually going to also protect us. They help protect us from breast cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and it optimizes our bone health, which is important as our estrogen is going down, our brain health, our emotional health, and our gut. Like that's super important.
And that gut, baby.
That's our immune system. If you didn't know, it's one long
That
tube,
deeper
right?
sin. Mm-hmm. So what I have found, and I'm sure everybody on can say the same, it's really the consistency thing with all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 2 good days, good for you, right? And we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But 2 days on, 3 days off, 4 days on, 5 days off, all the things is what keeps us on the hamster wheel,
Yeah.
right? Versus making lifestyle changes where it's 90-10, 80-20 versus this up and down. Dr. Wohat, last week said, I wish you could understand what you do to your body when you just constantly, you're just eat, like you eat, right? Because you eat and then you eat an hour later. Then you eat the next hour. Then you eat the next hour, right? She's like, if you could eat good food, stop, eat good food, stop, eat good food, and stop. You're not putting your body through this ebb and flow, this up and down with the blood sugar just going up and crashing back down and going up constantly. You have one spike, right? A natural spike, not a crazy 30, 40 point spike.
Right.
Because if you're eating good quality fruits, vegetables, animal protein, I'm saying if you decide to do that, right, it's going to be a nice ebb and flow, and your body will regulate across the board. Across the board. It will help with your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar, and even your mental health, right? Because again, you're not raising the cortisol and all the things, right? With this nutrition, playing around with it. So consistency matters, right?
100%. She is absolutely correct. And it's so interesting. A study, I want to say, came out recently that talked about this. It dispelled this whole, oh, let's just keep a steady glucose throughout the day. No, that's what's trending diabetes up for a lot of people. We need to go into fasting. That's intentional. That's very anti-inflammatory. So she's absolutely right. And consistency is key. I think that's what gets a lot of us is consistency, because it's easy to just grab something and tell ourselves whatever story we want to tell ourselves to make it justifiable in that moment. But at some point you just gotta want to live.
Wow.
You just
Whoa.
gotta want to
At
live.
some point, you have to want to live.
And it has to
That's
be
it.
that important to you. And when you're ready to live, that's when people like me can come alongside you and actually get you to the finish line, get you to that finish line of consistency and it being a lifestyle in your life. You gotta want to live.
Guys, feel free to ask questions. I'm sorry, we're just rolling off at the mouth here, but feel free to ask questions. So what does it look like? So here I am, right? I'm like, Ethel, listen, I want you to be my consultant, my health and nutrition consultant. What does that look like? What does a client, or frankly, it's a patient as far as I'm concerned, but client, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So
Or what would it
as
look like
you're
for me, I
for
should say?
you, okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about
Mhm.
you. It's very personalized.
Mhm.
So what we work on together might be different from the next
Of
person.
course.
So we start with an intake, and it's going to sound very similar to your first new patient visit appointment. I collect a lot of health history, but I'm also collecting a lot of nutrition and social history as well, because that's going to help inform how I can help you navigate the areas where maybe you're not as consistent, if we're talking about consistency, that you need to be. We talk through family history, not so much because I'm looking for genetic things that may be there, but I'm also looking for lifestyle traits that have been passed down, right? So a lot of us cook the way mama and them cooked because that's what we've been taught. So I look for that. So if I hear mom has heart disease and you're coming to me because you have heart disease, I'm thinking, okay, I need to lean into, tell me more about eating growing up. What was it like? Things like that. So it's very conversational. And then I will do what we call a food recall. I may do it for 3 days. I may do it for 5 days, but I'll ask you to tell me what you ate. Tell me what you drank, about how much did you have. And then after that, I put together what's called a personalized nutrition plan. And I share it back with you to say, here's what we discussed, but here's where I think, we can go. How does that sound to you? Where would you like to start? We have 3 things to choose from, or 4 things to choose from, usually 3. Where would you like to start? And you can say, I want to start with that. All right, we're going to start there. And then I'll start to slowly drip in the other things because it's all connected. And we'll address those things.
Hmm. So do people bring their
Labs.
for instance, I've had all the allergy testing and stool testing and all the things to give the condition of the gut, identify food sensitivities, and allergies. So do people usually bring that stuff along, or do you send people out to get that kind of testing and the rest of it?
Oh, good question. So depends on what you're coming for.
Mm-hmm.
I will request that before the first visit. So if you have labs, if you've done all this testing, then I'll ask for it. I am not the practitioner that just be sending people out to do tests just because. It depends. You have to have something really interesting going on for me to cast the net that wide to do stool testing and other types of gut health testing that are out there. There's a lot I can see just from your annual labs that tells me a lot.
I'm sure.
And so I can look at your metabolic panel, your lipid panel. I want to see your vitamin D, and that's something you should be requesting. Do not let them say you don't need it. Yes, you do.
Yes,
I want to
do.
see that. I want to see your iron levels and your kidney function. That's going to tell me a lot right there. And then based on that, I'll know what to send you for to get testing. And to be fair, sometimes insurance covers it and sometimes insurance does not. It really does depend.
And it really shouldn't be your concern. Like, again, we can jump it. Like, everybody who knows me knows it should not be your concern whether insurance covers it or not. They do great, but these are things that literally drive your health and wellness, right? And I'll say it again. I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. If this were your child and your child needed support from a health or wellness perspective, you would mortgage everything you had to ensure that your child had everything. You are worth just that.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Gotta
right?
invest.
You have to invest. It is so important. And it's interesting that you talk about the metabolic panel. Like, I know a lot, everybody, guys, I know we all go to the doctor and they run this metabolic panel. Well, there are layers to that, right? When you agree, there's so many layers to understanding, right? The basic metabolic panel, but there's so many other things you should be asking for, right? Because again, if you looked at my metabolic panel, you'd be like, wow, you are well. If you look at the 101 basic, blood sugar, perfect. Blood pressure, perfect. Cholesterol, perfect. My vitamin D is absolutely optimal right now, which I'm very proud of. Thank you very much. All righty. And there's that. My ferritin, great. All the things, right? But then when you dig deeper, I mean, I was shocked when they said 2 years ago, you have leaky gut. I said, what? And they said, this is why you have all the food sensitivities.
It's like an open gate for those who don't know what that is. So our
yes, explain. Yes.
Yeah.
Leaky gut.
Our intestines have these little gates, if you will, and they open like this. And it's sampling everything you've eaten that's in your blood that's coming through. And it's supposed to. So if it says, virus, we're not going to let that through. We're going to pass that out through your fecal matter. But when we're eating a lot of processed food, fried foods, high sugar, we kind of start to tear the gate apart. And so it ends up being like this. And so instead of closing, it's like the stuck gate and you can't get out the parking lot. So now it's open access. All these things are coming through that shouldn't be going through. So that's leaky gut for those who have not heard that before. We want to tighten that up. And what we know is eating more whole plant foods heals that, puts that tight, what we call mucus junction, if you will, puts it right back together. I come up with weird phrases for stuff, but try to help people understand the visual to come back together so it does what it's supposed to do. So for a lot of people who had, I don't want to go there, but strong responses and long COVID symptoms, long hauling, I'm like, I would love to see their gut profile because I bet it's wide open. And that's why they're having brain fog and all this other stuff.
So, and not to jump out into that, right? Everything about my wellness was perfect until COVID. That was the line in the sand, right? That's when everything else happened, because at the time I was 50 pounds lighter. I was in the gym, my nutrition, I was on it. And all of these, all of a sudden it was just like tank. And of course I was literally in menopause, didn't even know it, but that's a whole nother story. Yeah. But I say all that to say that it's like Dr. Sheila says, test, don't guess, right? Like there's no reason to guess, right? You can go out and get these things now. So you named all these things that are going to help us with the perimenopause and menopause symptoms, right? They're going to aid and support, etc. And you named a lot of greens, but is it really almost any green that will help because of the phytoestrogens, etc.? Yeah. Literally, like
the leafies and the cruciferous, they always take home the first place trophy. But Any leafy green will be fine. Whole plant foods. You see, I mentioned alfalfa. I mentioned parsley. I mean, it's a little bit in everything.
Right.
So diversity is key, and just adding more to your plate. So if you want to have cabbage, don't just have cabbage. Put some color in there. Throw some carrots in there. Throw some corn in there. Throw some parsley in there. Just try to go. I know they say I overdo it when I say this, like 30 different types of fruits and vegetables a day. But when you think about the herbs and spices, come on, you can get there really fast. You can get there really fast. But you can
And
do that in a week. It really is for a week. So about 5 to 7 a day, or 7 to 9 is what we should be aiming for.
So 5 to 7, say that again.
So
5
5
to
to
7.
7 servings or different types of fruits and vegetables we should be eating every day.
So we should be having 7 servings of vegetables. You're saying fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. So it's fruits and vegetables. If you leave it up to me, it's going to be fruits and vegetables. But fruits and vegetables combined. And it's really easy to grab. It's really easy to do. So for breakfast, for example, let's say you did stone cut oats as an oatmeal. You put in there blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and you had a handful of like spring mix or broccoli sprouts on the side. You done already had blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, broccoli sprouts, and stone cut oats. That's 5, right? That's like 5 whole plant foods right there.
What are we doing about our blood sugar with this? Because all I'm hearing is stone oats. All I'm thinking is, woo, here we go.
So thank you for bringing that up. So, again, everybody's glucose is going to respond differently.
Mm-hmm.
However, when we're talking about whole plant food, we're eating it with this fiber complement. So it shouldn't be throwing you off the deep end. But if it is, that particular fruit is not for you. But when you're eating it in its whole complement, meaning you haven't juiced it, you're not drinking just juice. That's why I'm not a fan of juicing, because it's so hard on the kidneys and it's spiking everybody's blood sugar, whether you're diabetic or not. If you're going to do it, blend it and keep the fiber in there with it so that it'll cut the impact that the sugar or glucose is having on your body.
Oh, hold. All right. See, now we're getting somewhere. Juicing. Talk to us about. So, listen, who doesn't love a great beet juice with some spinach, kale, whatever, right? But there are people that literally go on juicing fast for 30 days and do all the things, right?
Everybody's see good results, but it's not sustainable. Like, okay, you want to make beet juice? Let me tell you how to make beet juice. You cut them beets, you wash them first, okay? You cut them, you put it in your blender, and you add water. You know how to smooth it out so you're not really having all the pulp? You add a little bit of lemon juice. You add some whole apples. You cut some whole apples in there. And you can throw some blueberries in there if you want a little bit of flavor. That's it. And you can add some of the green tops, but just if you have a history of kidney stones and all that, it's very high in oxalic acid. So that's not something you want to do every day. But for clients and those who I used to do private chefing for, who had goals of reducing their blood pressure, I made them beet juice, and it was like I would have never known. So smooth. The lemon juice is the trick though, and I just use water and a high power blender.
Okay. So again, this is why the testing is so important, to understand it, also to pay attention, right? Because I check my blood sugar every day. I'm pricking my finger every day because I don't. The monitor to me is not as accurate, right? And I want to know what makes what happen. I want to know, right? What I can eat, what I can't eat, right? Because blood sugar, it scares me, right? Because we all, again, when you get that one pre-diabetic conversation, that's all you need. Because all you think about is both of my grandmothers had amputations, and I will not tolerate that. Like, I won't have it.
You're being intentional in advance. I love that.
Right.
There is somebody, an influencer, walking around with a glucometer just to see what spikes her blood pressure. Her blood glucose. You should know it's going to be different for everyone. So brown rice might send you over the top, but I'm fine with it. So I think it's a nice little experiment if everybody went home and got some glucometers and ate something and pricked their fingers.
I mean, listen, I think if you have goals and you're trying to understand, especially at this juncture in life, I don't think it's a bad idea to do a 30-day experiment, and every time check it before you eat, after you eat, just so you know what does what to you, right? You won't know unless you test it, right? So if you want to continue to eat your rice, right, you're like, I'm not giving that up, and you see that it's really not giving you the spike that you thought it was, right? Because maybe you are having some good fat avocado or whatever with it, or animal protein or something to kind of help blunt that, right? Hemp, whatever, I don't know, all the things you should test. The only way you're going to know is if you test, right? Or go by how you feel if you're that astute. I happen to know that when I eat something that is spiking my blood sugar.
Same. I'm very in tune.
Oh my God.
And I grab a handful of any leaf I can find to cut it. And I will eat it and drink water. And within a few minutes, everything is like,
see, and for me, see, and so this is again, this is a great conversation for me. And I don't know about everybody else on, but this is a really good conversation because I'm thinking I always grab animal protein. And it's not that I shouldn't, but I could be overdoing it, right? Just maybe grabbing a handful of something, right? I always have vegetables in the refrigerator anyway, even if they're cooked slightly, right? To go ahead and ingest. You know, broccoli spikes my blood sugar.
wow.
It gives me like a shocking little like weird, but if I'm eating it alone.
If you're eating it alone, raw or cooked?
Cooked.
I'm just curious. Cooked. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I don't mean spike like 30 points. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it gives me a bump where I'm like, what? It's broccoli.
Well,
Like,
you should get a bump because it's breaking down glucose after you've eaten it. So you should have some spike for everything. It's just like you said, it shouldn't be like off the charts. But
it
if
just
it's
feels
making
weird.
you
Like
feel off, then yeah, that's
kale's
interesting.
not like that though.
Okay.
Right. So and I mean, I guess they are
Yeah.
different, right? One is a really, I guess they are different because broccoli is more of a fibrous carb, right? Like different.
It's cruciferous. Yeah, very way more fiber.
Yeah.
Way more fiber. But can we go back to testing for a second?
Yes.
You
Please.
reminded me of something that I think is important for everybody to hear. Okay. When we are in school, we have tests on a regular basis, maybe weekly, maybe monthly, but you having something at least every semester you can look forward to that final exam. Why is it that we wait once a year to see how we're doing? I believe in mid-year tune-ups, at least every couple months. I go to any lab test now and I pull my own stuff. I know how to read my lab. So because I want to know if I'm having a hard moment, a hard season in life, and I'm not making good decisions, I need to know what it's doing to me so I can course correct. Or if I'm doing great, I want to keep doing it. But waiting once a year, so much has happened, so much has changed. I don't like that about our health system. I think it should be more regular so that people can make informed decisions. But you're waiting a whole year to tell me I might have hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, atherosclerosis. Come on. So I just want to empower us. Like, if $79, depending on where you are, go to any labs and just pull it. And if you want to share with your doctor and say, hey, I went to get my labs, or ask them, I want to be rechecked, or I want an advanced cardio lab test during my annuals. Don't just settle for the basic one, because the basic one, like you said, everything is great. But if you do that advanced testing that's looking a little bit deeper at your APOs and your all that stuff, you're gonna be like, oh, so wait, I need to maybe there is something genetic here, or maybe I do need to make some adjustments to what I'm eating. So knowledge is power, and that's just where I am with it. And so we were talking about testing. Yes, I can send you for tests as your nutritionist, and as your health, I can send you out for testing, and we can talk about it. But I also want to empower you to start asking your doctors for that additional testing. They may initially push back,
And they're
but this is where you
going to push back.
Yeah.
And they're going to push back because they want to know why you want to know so much. Why are you so concerned with that? Right. But the information is yours to have, right? So they can push back, but no is not an option, right? As Dr. Jessica said, if you're not getting what you need from that practitioner, find a new one. So I appreciate you saying that any labs, and that's what it's called, any lab
test now.
Correct. That, I mean, honestly, even Quest and LabCorp, you can order your tests yourself, and it's not like it's going to cost you $2,000 to do.
No, and right? LabCorp actually is the lab for any lab test now. They do the lab.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
Right. And you can easily get these things done, and then you have information. Now, the tricky part is who's going to read them?
Right.
If you buy them, right? If you buy them yourself, and you can actually engage practitioners that will consult you on results alone, right? It sounds like you have that knowledge base as well. But if you're a person that says, I need an MD to read my labs, okay, you can actually hire somebody to do that.
Or you can
Right?
upload them to your portal, your MyChart or your Epic or whatever you have. I forget all the things. There's so
Yep.
many EMRs now. And your doctor now has a requirement. They're now liable because you've exposed them to these results. So they have to review them and respond.
So I again, the reason why we have people like Ethel Richards on, right, is because we want you to have more information. We want you to know that there are resources like her, because she does this every day with clients, patients, whatever you want to call yourself, every day. She is accessible to you. With that, I want to ask just a couple more questions before I have to let you go. There's just a lot of, especially with social media, there's so many talking heads. Everybody has a voice, right? I don't believe in giving everybody that. You can have your own voice on your own platform, but here we bring experts on to talk about that. So give us some things myths that you've heard that we should dispel and get rid of today. Like right now, we need to throw it away, and like just even three. I'm sure that people come into you when clients come into you and they're like, "Oh, I can't do that because X." No, you know, I I heard that this is this.
The biggest one I hear is about protein. Oh my God, I can't do that. I can't eat more plants because I'm not going to get enough protein. And I'm like, really? Can I show you a list and how much is in each one? Let me take you over to Food Data Central so you can educate yourself. That's a big one, that somehow you're just not going to get enough protein. But now it's just power. So it's knowing what protein sources are and being intentional to prepare those foods for yourself. That's the biggest myth. Okay, let me think about this one.
So people love to.
Gosh,
Uh,
people are, I guess they're afraid of B12 is another one. People get really wonky about with eating more
B
plants.
is funny. Yeah, people do get wonky about B. I don't know
You
why.
know, it will take several years in most cases for you to even enter into a place where you're like, uh-oh, you know, we're having an issue. We don't have enough B12. It takes a long time to deplete that. But there are high quality supplements out there that you can take to ensure your B12 levels stay optimal. So I would throw that myth out too,
Okay,
because you can do that. What's the biggest one? Another myth.
I'm gonna say how people get about beans, right? Like eating
Oh,
beans versus legumes, right? Like, oh my God. Like, of course, if you're diabetic, I wouldn't necessarily eat a can of, or I would not make a pot of like beans and eat them with rice. Like,
yeah, but why? I guess that's another thing. I won't share the health organization, but a friend of mine was recently told that she was pre-diabetic and she gave me the list of foods she could and couldn't eat.
mhm.
I was floored that this is even permissible. She said a registered dietitian gave her that. I was like, are they trying to kill you? And beans was on there. Like, oh, don't eat this, but you can have steak. Just eat it this much. And it was the most weird thing. Here's what I'm going to say about beans. This is, again, knowing how your body responds to food. One, you should be cooking them, rinsing them off, all that jazz, right? But you can have it with brown rice. I keep saying brown rice, brown rice, brown rice, brown rice. Because what's the problem with beans? Like, I guess I'm lost on that one. Like,
Well, you know how
I've
people,
heard
because they
that, and I'm
talk
like,
about it.
why are we telling people not to eat the very fibrous foods that can help them? Now, if this person is on dialysis, that's a whole different conversation. That's a complex situation. But average person is not on dialysis. So why are we not eating beans and lentils, high in protein, high in other nutrients and minerals that are good for your bone health and everything else? Like,
See,
I guess I want somebody to tell me what I'm missing on that one.
I don't know. You're
Like,
the expert.
I because I have a relative who has been diabetic for years, and I've heard that, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, so they said it's okay for you to eat a lot of red meat but not beans. The very thing that's going to be hard on your kidneys, that's going to continue to push you into a state where you eventually need dialysis. So that's a very personalized question, and I would need to know what beans are doing to your glucose. before I say, hey, I agree or don't agree. But I'll struggle with that one because it's a
I think what I love about how you what you're communicating is that it's, again, it goes back to that test don't guess, right? But it goes back to everybody's an individual. We are unicorns, we are snowflakes, like literally, that what works for you may not work for me,
yeah.
right? I know people who are 100% like they're vegetarian and are super muscular. I know people that it just doesn't work that way for them, right? It
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't, right? I know for Stacy, I I have to have the animal protein in there, right? But again, I was told that guess what? You can do the lamb, you can do chicken, right? These are the things you can do, but that beef, you it must always be grass fed, etc. But even then, for you, because of some liver things happening, etc., you need to be very cautious about that red meat,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would say this: know your body, right? You have to know your body. You have to dial in and get some qualified practitioners to be able to break these things down for you, right? And speak to you about things in the real, right? For you versus
100%.
right. So also we talked about the juicing thing, why we don't love juicing, right? We don't love it. We're not, you're not saying it's cool. It sounds like you're not saying that you shouldn't. You're just saying that it's not the best thing.
So I'm not a fan of it.
Okay.
And I think if you want to juice some watermelon or something and have a refreshing glass, I mean, go for it. But again, most people that are asking me these questions are people who have comorbidities and really need to make a decision today if they want to live or not. So they're asking me almost sometimes for cheat days or cheat meals or cheat recipes. You've been cheating for how many years? Yeah, we're not there anymore. Like, so ultimately it comes down to your goals and
Mhm.
what this is going to do to your body. And so if all you're doing is juicing, we may have some challenges there. But juicing every now and then, okay, enjoy it. I'll go pick up some beet juice if I'm out and I'm like, oh, I need something real quick. Let me just grab this beet juice. I know there's no fiber in that. They juiced it. But when
Right.
I get home and I have time to make it in bulk, I'm going to go ahead and make me some beet juice that's going to have all the fiber in there and some of the beet tops and everything else. So I'm not a fan of it because it's hard on the kidneys. It's a lot of glucose entering your system at one time. But once in a while, I don't see why we shouldn't be able to enjoy it.
And I think that's fair. Again, I like the fact that you're talking about a lot of balance and a lot of synergy with what you're eating and aligning yourself with things that work for you, which I think women need to dial into, right? We
Mm-hmm.
can't look at what somebody else is doing and say, I'm going to do that, right?
Right,
We really, at this, especially when you start creeping into this age here, you really need to start being extremely intentional and mindful, right, about you.
right. That's 100%. And I think there's two other things that's important. This phase of menopause, perimenopause, and all of that that's important that I need to stress is the word stress. We talked about those adrenal glands,
Mm,
right? The thing they do for us, we many of us have heard the phrase fight or flee,
yep,
or flight or fright, however
yep,
you heard.
yep.
Well, the body doesn't really know good stress from a bad stress. It just knows that you're under stress. So it doesn't know if you are threatened with something life threatening or you're just stressed because your job is stressful. Either way, you're sending cortisol out into your blood. And guess what cortisol is doing? It's spiking that glucose. So if you're living in a state of chronic stress, in many ways, and I mean this with all humility, we're kind of asking, hey, diabetes, come hang out and be my cousin. Hey, high blood pressure, come be my cousin. Hey, obesity, come hang out with me, right? Because we're metabolically pushing our body to comorbidities that don't serve us well. So if we're going to go where we are going through perimenopause and we'll have that moment of menopause and there'll be postmenopausal until we die, we have to decide that stress cannot take up residence in our temples.
I love that.
We have to
It cannot take
we
residence.
got to
It
serve
cannot.
an eviction notice. So if that means taking time for self-care. I think you said it earlier, like at some point you just got to invest in yourself and your well-care, because if you don't, who will? Because here's the thing, we're going to buy now, we're going to buy later, but at some point we're going to buy. That's the way I say it. So you can choose to take your health back now, or it's going to force you to make time for it later through complex case management, i.e., procedures, lots of medication things, because now we're managing something that we can control. So I wanted to share that about stress in this season, because that's going to also help us feel like we have control as our body is changing and our adrenal glands are getting up to speed with making the estrogen that we need so that we feel level-headed throughout the day.
You know what? You could not have summed all this up, like, because stress is the bag almost to me. It's like the bag, right? And it's holding all of this stuff that's happening. And if we don't manage that, I mean,
Yeah, you just got to let it go. I was talking to my aunt before this call, and I just say, I am so healed. Like, life has happened to all of us, but sometimes you just got to say, all right, okay. You cannot hold on to a lot of stress or traumatic things that have happened, because it eats away at you. So if you add that to a poor dietary lifestyle, you see how it's all connected, and you're saying, oh, but I can't. No, let's look at the whole person. That's why it's so personalized, because I have to look at what are they really telling me before we ever even talk about food. I need to understand who Stacy is and all the dynamics in Stacy's life because what happens is when it's all that comes to the table, all that comes to the decision about what we're going to eat. Do I go home and stand over the stove and decompress and really put some brown rice on with some broth and just throw in some beans and some frozen vegetables and wait 15 minutes to be done? Or do I sit in this drive-through line and get these greasy fries, these greasy nuggets, or this burger, or the Chinese food, or the Asian cuisine? Like, it comes down to that, because you're going to spend the same amount of time. Am I going to sit for 30 minutes and wait? Or am I going to go home and stand and allow my body to decompress as I prepare something that's going to give me life and be good for my emotional well-being? So I have this saying, gut health plus movement equals mental health. We didn't talk a lot about physical activity, but think about how you feel after you eat. Do you feel excited? Do you feel groggy? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel sleepy? Do you feel hormonal? Like, your body is telling you what will serve you well. And we have to do physical activity, ladies, during this season, because that's going to help keep things in balance as well. And water should be our go-to drink. But, yeah, there you go. And then there's a whole lot of research about fluoridated water, avoiding that. But anyway, I'm getting into something else. But I just wanted to share that because
I love it.
Yeah, I think that we take for granted. We bring all of life stresses to this decision about what to eat.
And I will tell you, you're right. Again, going back to that complicating things. It's like, everything doesn't have to be perfect, right?
Exactly.
If you're going to eat, fine. You want to buy a ton of canned beans? No, is it great? The aluminum, whatever. But guess what? All right. You got the beans, right?
The step.
I mean, we're moving in the right direction, right? I want to touch on this because you said it, how when you don't ingest the right things, and I'll be very transparent. I had a very robust Thanksgiving from a nutrition perspective, robust in a bad way, right? So when I went to work out with my trainer on the Monday, it felt like hell on earth. It literally did. And literally, and I'm not exaggerating, I was literally coughing mucus up, right? That is called inflammation, full stop, right? So all week, what have I been doing? Trying to work to push this stuff out, right? Because I know my body well enough, right, to understand. I know how to do what to do,
Yep.
But that's not a good place to put your body in. It's just not, right? Because it's this up and down, and eventually you're not going to be able to dig out of holes like that.
That's true. And I'll say, it's okay to shock your system once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Because
that's
right?
my problem.
But not super, not super shocked. Because, like, for example, I had two different people bought sweet potato pies, and then there was a pound cake, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. And like you, I was like, oh my gosh, my hands are so swollen from all of the sugar in these cakes. And it took a couple of days, and I was miserable because I was like, man, it's not worth it. So Christmas next year, scratch it. We just gonna stick to the routine because, like you, I felt terrible, and I was like, it was not worth, 5 minutes on the lip to be dealing with this for 5 days to purge this out of my system with plenty of water and all these leafy greens and
It was
intermittent fasting.
horrific. It was horrific. And it wasn't even about, it was how I felt. It was the workout was so hard. It was
Yeah.
so hard. I mean, I was like, oh my God. I was so angry after. I was like basically cursing my trainer. I was like, why did we do this? She was like, what? No. See? Right? You can't put yourself in those situations. All right.
These
So
moments have to happen though, because I think then it pushes you more towards where we started this conversation, consistency.
right. And I, again, I have a lot of consistency, but my problem is if I'm not, it's off the deep end,
Yeah.
right? Which creates a hole for me, right? So it's not helpful. It's just not helpful, and it's not taking me to where I want to go. So it was definitely something, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, that it wasn't necessarily worth it.
It wasn't worth it. Yeah. That's where I am with them. I'm like, okay, we're done. No more cake and everything.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah. I mean, I just think that like it just becomes problematic, and to feel like that and coughing up mucus and all the things, it was just too much for me. I was like, you know what, this is gross, right? I feel like trash. I'm dragging on the ground, right? Which is not normal for me, and we've got problems. So all right, Ethel, so I feel like
I know we gotta go.
Well, no, there has to be a part two.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say, because we didn't talk about bone health and this menopause and all that jazz. Yeah.
Well, God, that's a whole
thing.
Very big, like that's a very big topic, honestly, and that I don't care what the bone health situation is problematic, but I want to make sure that people know that they need to go follow you at I Eat More Plants, right? And then also your other platform, what is that?
The Plant-Based Nutritionista. So I have 2 Instagram pages.
Why?
Why? Oh, y'all want to know why?
I do.
Because eventually I want the Plant-Based Nutritionista to be more stuff like this, whereas I Eat More Plants to just be more informational resources.
Plant-Based Nutritionista. That's it, right? That's it, right?
Yeah. You want me to type it in? Because I don't know. I guess my screen moves slower.
Yeah, I just pinned it.
Oh, okay.
So somebody asked, how do we sign up for a consultation?
Oh, very easy. You can just go to IEatMorePlants.com and click on book an appointment and pick the one that works for you. The other option is just email me, info@ethelrichards.com, and we can go from there so we can get you into the right appointment slot.
And I think this is what, I'm glad somebody asked that, because I think I need to hustle myself on over to the wait, info@ethelrichards.com. Yep.
That's the email, and the website, I'll put it here.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I think I did it. Yeah.
I think that nutrition is king, right? I mean, everybody knows how I feel about movement. You're not moving, you're dead, right? So there's that. But nutrition is king, right? I work out like an animal, and I need to lose 45 pounds, right? So what does that tell you, right? Nutrition is still king. You still have to regulate that.
Yep.
I think this is a very valuable conversation. I'd like to continue the continue the conversation, but we want to make sure that you know how I feel about supporting people, the people we have on here. These are Black women out here doing it for us. And not only us, but again, it's always helpful because representation matters, and people that look like us are trying to direct us in the right direction.
Yeah.
And Ethel Richards is one of those people. So let's go support her. Let's make sure we follow her on all the platforms. She's also on Facebook, right? Let's go follow her and hustle on over to Facebook too. If you're on Facebook, she's on LinkedIn. Let's go follow her over there and support her mission, because it is about community. That's what she's doing. She's supporting the community, right? We're not trying to, there's no shaming going on here.
And
As she cleared all that vegan stuff up, cleared it all up. So we're all clear. She's just trying to get us to eat 7 servings of veggies and fruits a day.
yes.
That's how
Drink
simple
water.
this is what I heard. Please replace the sugar items with the 7 servings of plants and fruits every day.
Yep.
That's what I'm hearing. Right?
That's it. And you'll
And
start
get
to feel a
yourself
difference.
and get a consultation. And if we need guidance, let's go get it. We are worth it. It's Christmas time. Go get yourself a Christmas gift and get with Ethel Richards. There's that. Because I think that's what I'm about to do.
Woo. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm
Yes.
in the get serious lane right now, right? Because again, my fear around comorbidities, I don't have them, thank God, but we got to stay ready so we don't have to get ready.
That part.
Ethel, you are a magician, and you're special. You're just special, and I'm very grateful that I met you. And again, if you didn't hear the conversation, we just met like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Yep.
And I
Thank
was
you,
like,
Valerie.
perfect. And I did all this research and I'm like, okay, she's good. So we're going to bring you back. And I actually think I know when.
Okay.
I think I know when. And we'll get to it. So guys, go follow her, get more information. If you need to get a consultation from her, get it. Right? Holidays are coming. People need you. I'm sure you do gift cards and all the things that people want to gift.
Yep. They can
gift your
out.
services.
They can gift out the services. They can gift out packages. I've had people do that. Like, oh, I want my husband to have it, or I want my spouse to have it, and they'll gift it, and they can just schedule it whenever they're ready.
I think. And did you say you do chef services?
What's up? Yeah, I used to do private. It's yeah, I can. But let me be clear. It is food as medicine, nutrition, services. I am only cooking for people who have health goals in mind.
Right. No.
And
Sometimes you need to get it tight.
yeah.
Like, I mean,
yeah.
Right. It doesn't mean it has to be this way forever, but it's helpful to have somebody guide you through.
Yeah.
Right. And show you what needs to be in your pantries. Here are the things that need to go, etc.
Yep.
Yes.
We do what's called a kitchen reset, and that is available.
So you do it. So
I
you
do kitchen resets. I come to you, or we do it virtual, depending on where you are, because it's important that it's done in your home, because that's your haven. That's where you are. So we can do that virtually, and then if we have a good relationship, then I'll come to your house. Otherwise, we'll do it virtually.
You are amazing. All right, guys. I so appreciate everybody joining. I pray that you got something from our conversation this evening. Again, let's go support Ethel. Let's make sure we do that. And I will see you next week with our next guest.
Awesome. Happy holiday.
Yeah, same
Bye.
to you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.